I want to ask you about the one big beautiful bill as well. You mentioned obviously expertise in agriculture. Tariffs have been a big part of Trump's plan as well. We've seen this especially affect farmers. We've seen two big bailouts under Trump. What do you think? One, I guess, just what are your thoughts on how agriculture is being handled, the state of it now? But what should Democrats, what kind of policies do you support to kind of bring agriculture back to the forefront, where a lot of people feel like maybe it's been forgotten or neglected by both sides?
Yeah, I mean the tariffs have acted in two different ways to really hurt farmers, especially in California. On the supply side, so everything's getting more expensive for all of us, right? But everything's also getting more expensive for farmers, and so that looks like pieces of equipment, that looks like chemical agricultural inputs, that looks like seeds, that looks like soil amendments, anything that they need. Diesel is also getting more expensive, right? But then they're also losing market access. So this was a huge thing. Specifically, we'll take California wine as the example. Like 25% of wine grown in California was being sold into Canada. And overnight, basically, we lost access to those markets. And that's not something that a Democratic president will be able to like flip back on, right? Or if we get rid of the tariffs, like those markets take a really long time to build. And so before that happened, the California wine industry was already tanking because 20-year-olds aren't drinking enough, or 21-year-olds, excuse me, aren't drinking enough wine. Allegedly, that's what they tell me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing my part, but I'm 42. I'm just saying.
You can only do so much.
You can only do so much before it's a problem. So the California wine industry was already struggling with a lack of demand. And then when we lost this big market chunk, last year in 2025, they pulled out something around 50,000 acres of vineyards planted in California. And the estimates think that they need to pull out another about 40,000 more to hit a market equilibrium. But you want to know who's like, when we ask the question, like, if we're losing that much more acreage, is it going to be our small family vineyards, or is it going to be that, Ernest and Julio Gallo's, right? Which one of those entities can survive? Well, it's not the small family vineyard, right? Like corporate consolidation in ag has made it so like when times get tough, only the strongest, only the biggest survive. Like we lost the ranch that I grew up on in 2010. After the downturn in 2008, we were wine grape growers and we had beef cattle, and we lost the ranch because we lost all of our grape contracts. And so the ag economy is a serious huge part of the economy in Northern California where I'm running to represent. And right now the policy is not designed to actually support farmers. And so that's another reason why I want to be on the ag committee, is both from the food insecurity lens. I've done a lot of work with food banks, and federal nutrition policy is wrapped up in the Farm Bill. And then the other half of the Farm Bill is ag policy. It's the Forest Service budget, it's conservation funding. It's all of these really important things that touch how we make life easier for farmers, how we make sure safe, healthy, nutritious food is getting to Americans, and how we make sure that we're protecting and stewarding the environment at the same time. And so, yeah.
The other side of the excuse me, the other side of the one big beautiful bill was healthcare. There were record cuts to Medicaid. This obviously is going to affect rural hospitals, something I'm sure that your district will feel the effects of. What are your thoughts on that as well, I guess? And then how even do Democrats kind of tackle this issue to bring back some of those hospitals, expand the access to care to as many people as possible?
Yeah. So the one big beautiful bill was not only like the greatest transfer of wealth from the poor and working class to the rich like in American history. It was also like particularly cruel and devious on how they laid out the timing of all the new requirements that they're putting in to basically kick people off of their SNAP benefits, their nutrition assistance, and Medicare, Medicaid, right? Like in Lake County, which I'm running to represent, here in about a month, 1,500 people are going to lose food assistance. And then by the end of the year, 2,500 people are going to lose access to Medicaid. And those are people in the second poorest county in the state who are already not making it, even with those supports. They already, because of how expensive everything's getting, there are people that need those supports to live. And so like I feel like just making sure that we're always grounding these conversations in the fact like that these are actual people's lives, because it's really easy to start thinking about like statistics and budget numbers, and then take the human piece, the humanity out of it. So I think we need to ground ourselves there. And then like long term, the only way that we ever make rural healthcare work is taking profit out of the system. Like we have to have a single payer nonprofit healthcare system. That's the only way we can provide quality of care for rural folks, because like guess what, rural healthcare does not make anybody any money because there's not enough people out here to justify the care, right? And so we actually lost Glenn Medical Center, which was the only hospital in Glenn County. It closed its doors last October because it lost its critical access designation because it was half a mile too close to the neighboring hospital. um, After it closed down, they were able to get a waiver. So technically it could reopen, but now there's not a hospital group who's willing to pay the 30 to 40 billion dollars it would take to reopen that hospital, right? So overnight we lost 150 jobs. There's no sign that we can get that hospital reopened again. And now all the people who lived in that county have to come to a neighboring county to seek services. So there's already impaction in those neighboring counties, and now it's gotten worse. And we're seeing that across the North State. So whilst I'll be fighting for system change for a nonprofit Medicare for all type system, what we need in the meantime is making sure that we're it's kind of a multi-phase approach. Is one, like holding the line, pushing back on Trump and Republicans' continued cuts, and then reversing those cuts in policies, bringing them back up to speed, and then like figuring out how do we actually make the math work for rural hospitals in the meantime. And so does that look like changing Medicare reimbursement rates so people in rural or hospitals, rural critical access hospitals, get higher reimbursement rates so they can stay open? Or what other programs does that look like to make sure that we're meeting that need before, as we elect leaders with the political courage to actually fight for a Medicare for all system?
It's crazy how many problems come back to corporate profit. It's almost like there's something there, you know?
Weird.
Yeah. You'd never would guess. Another big sticking point in Congress right now is DHS funding, largely because of ICE. I
Yeah.
think even within the Democrat Party, there's some disagreement. There's, the abolish ICE, there's the reform ICE wing. For you, what do you think, ICE having murdered a few Americans, violating court orders, do you think this is an agency that can continue to exist just with reform, or do you think
No.
Democrats should work to abolish
No.
it? Term?
Yeah, no fucking way. Like that you can't have like ICE needs to be abolished. Like we created it in a post 9/11 context and like never had the appropriate accountability or guardrails. And now it's been activated as Donald Trump's secret police force, besides famously killing American citizens in the street. Like the detention centers, which are concentration camps, are there. People are dying. People are being raped and murdered. People are dying of diseases that should be treatable whilst they're being held illegally and unjustly in these facilities. There is no way to reform an agency that has gone this far off the rails, and Democrats need to continue to refuse to fund it. And like this is and there are so many more parts of this issue. Like, yes, absolutely, this is a thing, but also like when we're talking about immigration, we need to be talking about the fact that Donald Trump is a racist who intentionally defunded asylum courts and judges and immigration lawyers, and is intentionally trying to make the asylum process crueler and more inhumane. We need to talk. Like I was the president of the board of the leading human rights organization in the Northern Triangle of Central America. The organization's been around for 25 years. I lived in El Salvador for a year and worked with them. Like we've accompanied people for over 25 years who are fleeing Central America because of state violence, gang violence, lack of economic opportunity, climate change issues, and like what we don't often as Americans recognize or refuse to recognize and look in the mirror is like the United States' culpability in our foreign policy from the 70s and 80s, which caused so much of the chaos and the unrest that we've seen in those countries. And so if we're not willing to say like, oh yeah, that was our bad, we had a part in destabilizing these countries, like we should probably, I don't know, keep USAID around when it's got programs that are like trying to build more stability in countries. Oh, and this is the thing here, excuse me, while I just go on another tirade really quick, like the thing that makes me so freaking mad is like they're Republicans or people on the right or corporate captured establishment Democrats will be like, oh well, we want less immigration. Well, then if you want less immigration, then maybe work on stabilizing the countries where people are having to flee their homes from. Nobody really wants to flee their homes. Like, and then if America's foreign policy is part of the reason that it's there, like maybe like look in the mirror and do something about it. So anyway,
Yeah,
that's what I thought about that.
if
Sorry,
you
I told you I'll go on a tirade. You have
no,
to
it's a justified tirade for sure.